The 25th Winter Olympics are just weeks away, and on Thursday, the full list of cross-country skiers who will be representing Team USA in Italy next month was announced. The 16 athletes include 8 skiers with Alaska ties: Gus Schumacher, Hunter Wonders, Zandon McMullen, and J.C. Schumacher for the men, and Kendall Kramer, Rosie Brennan, Novi McCabe, and Haley Swerble for the ladies. I spoke with someone who has lived the Olympic experience, Alaska's own Kikkan Randall, who won a gold medal at the 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, South Korea. Randall grew up in Anchorage and now leads the Nordic Ski Association of Anchorage as its executive director. Here's what she had to say about the athletes headed to Italy. There was a list of, I believe, 16 names that were, I think this is now the official roster today, that they announced for the cross-country ski team for Team USA. And if I counted right, half of them have Alaska ties, either born or raised here, went to high school, or have skied for either UAA or APU teams. But I was hoping you could just kind of react to that and just kind of tell us what you think when you see this list, and what you think of our representation from Alaska.
Well, it's pretty exciting. We've all been waiting for this day when they would announce the 2026 Olympic team, and it was both no surprise, but still very exciting to see that 50% of the team are athletes that are training in Alaska. And in particular, we actually, I think, have real Alaskans that were truly grown and developed here on the team. So Gus Schumacher in his second Olympics. I think we're really excited for what he can do now that he's had an Olympics under his belt. Hunter Wonders, coming back from retirement, pretty awesome. Zandon McMullen, who has really been coming up the ranks over the last couple of seasons. And then and then the women's side, some great stories. Great to see Kendall Kramer on there from Fairbanks. And then all the athletes trained here on the Olympic team. So just think it's really speaks to the community that we have up here that just keeps putting so many Alaskans on the Olympic team.
And of these names, I mean, I'm sure you have experience. You've interacted with all of them, or if not all of them, most of them, right? Can you explain, or just kind of explain how you see them performing in next month in Italy?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been retired for 8 years now, but I did have the pleasure of skiing on the APU team with Rosie Brennan. So it's great to see her back on another Olympic team, and she'll be one of the veterans on the team. So I think not only is she poised to have some good performances, but she will really be that kind of that rock, that veteran that can help some of our first-time Olympians have a good experience at the games. So excited to watch her. Yeah, Gus Schumacher has had already, I think, one of his strongest seasons to date, and was won a race at the Tour de Ski, and has just had really solid, consistent performances. And he's a guy who tends to do really well in February. So with a month to go until the games, I think there's a lot of good things for him to look forward to. But I think what's really cool about this team and this story is that so many of these athletes train together up here in Alaska. They have, because of what we have going on in Alaska, it has drawn some of the top athletes in the country to train at the AP Nordic Ski Center. And so to see that teamwork pay off, and to see that we have that kind of blend of athletes who have come to Alaska, athletes who've grown up here, all going out and representing, I think it's just going to be really exciting. And I think this is one of the strongest teams that the U.S. Maybe has ever sent to the Olympic Games. I mean, there are multiple athletes with chances at medals, and that's something we've not been able to really say before. So I'm just very excited to see, and I'm looking forward to calling the races for NBC. I'll be in Connecticut, so I won't be on site in Italy, but look forward to sharing the stories of these amazing athletes.
That's right. That's right. So just as an aside, are you calling every medal event for cross country, or just like do you know which ones you're doing, or?
I'm doing all the cross country events except for the final 2 races, which are both 50-kilometer races. So I won't be on the 50K call, but I'll be doing the skiathlons, the individual start 10K, the sprints, the team sprints, the relay, and I'll also be helping out with some of the Nordic combined events as well.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. Okay. And again, drawing on your own experience, and seeing as how far the US cross country has come in the last 2 decades, or I mean, you can really, I don't know what sort of time span you want to put on it. US cross country had never won a medal until I think you did with you and Jesse Diggins.
And then excuse me, didn't win a medal, but I think that was the second medal ever, the first gold, and so it was like a
Yeah.
seen as a huge breakthrough. But how would you explain to those who don't know anything about the sport just this upward trajectory that the U.S. has been on in the sport of cross country over the years? I mean, starting with your own experience.
Well, the sport has changed a lot over the last like 5, 6 decades. So, we had a really good era of ski racing in the mid 70s, early 80s, kind of right around the time the sport was transitioning from one technique to two techniques. Americans were pretty innovative in that. But then, through the 80s and 90s, I think it was hard to compete against teams that were better resourced, and we didn't get the results that I think needed to believe in what was possible because it was up against a pretty tough competition. So when we started with some actually really good performances in the 2002 Olympics. Nina Kempel had the top ever women's result. We had the men finish fifth in the relay. Chris Freeman, I know, had a top result there. Carl Swenson. So all of a sudden, it was like there was a glimpse of what was possible, and then it took a few more years of training and racing. But then as the results have come, you can just see that the athletes coming up have more and more confidence. And, especially with that gold medal in 2018, and then Jesse following it up 4 years later with two additional medals, it's like these American athletes now come into the games like believing that they can compete. And then the support has followed. Like this team is also better resourced than the US has ever been. And I think that's really important in a sport like cross country skiing that is certainly about the training, but it's also about making sure you have good skis, that you have good recovery support and all those things. So I think things are coming together at the right moment. And from every indication, this trajectory is going to continue forward.
Yeah, I mean, certainly hope so. I got to ask this question so I don't take up too much of your time, but what, again, looking at your own experience, like if you could give any sort of guidance or advice to these skiers that are going to Italy next month. I know some of them have been there before, not been Italy, but some of them are former Olympians themselves, but some of them are also first timers for the Olympics. What sort of advice would you give them?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember is that while the Olympics is the biggest stage, that's certainly when the most number of American eyeballs are on the sport, and you can turn that into extra external pressure. It's another ski race. And for a lot of these athletes, they're racing on the World Cup. And the World Cup is essentially, like doing the Olympics every week of the year. I mean, they've raced against a lot of these athletes. So they've done the right things that have gotten them on the team. They just have to keep doing those right things, keep themselves healthy, make sure that they enjoy it and have fun, because I can't underestimate how I think if you keep your emotional energy in a good place, that helps with the physical performance. And just go into these games confident that they put the training in and just do what they're used to doing. I think there's a feeling sometimes that it's the Olympics. I got to pull out the performance of a lifetime, and you kind of set yourself up for unrealistic expectations. So just remember that you're doing all the right things. Go out there and give it your best. And at the end of the day, that feeling is the most important.
That's awesome to hear. Anything to say to those that are going to be watching, the fans of the, Alaskans here at home, they're going to be watching from afar?
Well, I know for us Alaskans, it's going to be some early mornings that these races will be on live. But given how strong our team is and how many good things could happen, I think it's going to be worth getting up early to see those races live. Because there's nothing about watching a race, watching things unfold, not knowing what's going to happen, and then should a big moment happen, then you get to feel a part of it. And I know for me as an athlete, from that gold medal in 2018, hearing the stories of people who are up in the middle of the night, and what they experienced when that gold medal happened. It's such a cool shared experience. So I recommend bank your sleep now, so that you're ready to stay up and watch those races.
Yeah, set that alarm clock, or maybe just don't go to sleep, I guess.
Yeah.
I was one of those Alaskans watching you and Jesse in 2018 when you guys won that gold. That was pretty cool. So that was an amazing time. So yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
and we have a freestyle team sprint. That's the event that we won the medal in. They didn't contest the team sprint in freestyle at the last Olympics because it flip-flops every games. So we're back to freestyle format for the team sprint, and I think both our men's and women's teams are going to be very serious contenders for medals. So that'll be an exciting event to watch.
Yeah, for sure. No, that I cannot wait. And yeah, we're gonna figure out the sleep situation, but we'll figure it out, I guess. Have you ever, I guess, one more question I had was, is there any thought for you as far as coming back to competition at all, or is that kind of behind you?
Well, surprisingly, it's been 8 years since I stepped away from full-time competition, and I have really come to understand why it was that I trained so much over years and years and years to be really good at the sport. Because while there's still some really good muscle memory there, the training is not quite as robust as it used to be. And so I am very happy to watch and cheer our athletes. I still, of course, love to ski. I get out there and do it as much as I can. I've got two wonderful kids that I'm getting on skis and following around. My competition these days is jumping in our local Anchorage Cup races.
Oh, I love that about, not just Anchorage, but in Alaska, you get to see like Olympians like yourself just kind of casually out there, like jumping in these local races. Like, oh, look, there she is. Okay.
Yeah, well, I have to say, watching Lindsey Vonn come back at 41 is pretty impressive. So I'm excited to see how she can fare in this games.
That was Kikkan Randall with her thoughts on Alaska's Olympians. You can catch the Winter Olympics on KTUU starting February 6th. I'm Joey Klecka with Alaska's News Source.